any unforeseen difficulties in the unseen world, Gabriel will be there also on Sunday morning. Please grant him access to your sanctuary door. Signed, Clarence, Chief Dispatcher, 2nd Class. So ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the Archangel Gabriel. Gabriel, are you up there somewhere?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. Keep your halo on. Why, hello, Elder Emmert. What are you harping about?
Mr. Gabriel, sir, we were hoping you could tell us about the first Christmas.
Oh, that, me. Wouldn't you rather hear about Elvis? Elvis lives, and he shops at Walmart. Would you like to know what Elvis bought at Walmart just last week?
No, we would not really like to hear about Elvis's sale.
Okay, all right. How about lottery numbers? Everyone loves the numbers, and I know next week's. Would you like to hear next week's lottery numbers?
No, we don't really want to know about numbers.
Okay. How about some heavenly music?
I don't think anybody wants to hear you play your music either. Mr. Gabriel, I can't help but notice that you're having some trouble telling us about yourself.
Is there a problem? No. No. Yes. Technically, I am not Gabriel literally, practically, per se.
You're not?
No. Would Gabriel come through a closet door?
No.
Would an archangel play a banjo? No, I'm not Gabriel. He was called on way on one of those unforeseen emergencies, and I don't know, answering prayers or rescuing children or rescuing Satan or Santa or something. And I was tasked to be his substitute. So here I am. And why don't you take a seat and let's get this over with. All right. So, as you might have gathered, my name's not actually Gabriel. My name is Harold. I'm one of the herald angels. Perhaps you've harked of us. Now I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking or saying, Mabel, he's not a very impressive angel. Well, excuse me. You see, God made only a few of the superstars. Gabriel, Michael, Lucifer. We don't talk about Lucifer. And then he made a whole bunch of the secondary angels, you know, your seraphs and your cherubim and others, naked baby angels, Monica from Touched By, Michael Landon, and then, of course, Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life. And then he made lots and lots of us, less glamorous types. You might call us economy angels. Now, we economy angels don't have the prestigious job that everyone else does. We don't get to answer prayers. We don't do dramatic rescues. We don't appear on Oprah. But we do take care of areas that might otherwise be overlooked. I myself am in charge of poodles and unicorns. Well, only poodles now. You'd think with a great big horn sticking out of the top of your head, you'd be able to defend yourself against a few lions and tigers and bears. But oh no, they just prance around on their dainty little white hooves until they're changed into a unicorn burger. Anyway, I'm in charge of poodles. Just poodles. Now, about that first Christmas, it so happens that I was there when it all started. I was down at the Stardust Lounge. Unicorns hadn't been invented yet. Oh, excuse me. Unicorns were already gone by then. Again, not my fault. And it was poodles, also not my fault, hadn't yet been invented. So I had time on my hands. And as I was sitting there, who should come in but the archangel Gabriel himself. He comes up to me, Harold, and he says, Harold, I have a secret mission I need your help on. I said, yes, sir, Mr. Gabriel, sir. May I say what an honor it is, sir. And what is the mission, sir? Well, Harold, God the Son is going to go to earth undercover as a human being. I said, God the Son is going to earth undercover as a human being? He said, it's a secret mission. I said, oh, sorry, sir. Now, this was a puzzlement. Why on earth would God the Son be going to earth undercover as a human being? I mean, everybody knows that human beings are flightless, dirty, and rather smelly. No offense. So I said, Gabriel, are you sure that's wise? Are you sure that's a good idea? Wouldn't it be better if God the Son went to earth as, I don't know, himself? Gabriel said, no, Harold, this is God's plan. So this is the way it has to be. Well, you can't argue with that logic, or rather you can, but that's what happened to the one we don't talk about anymore. So I said, all righty, okay, so how is he going to get there? Do we create for him a Ferrari made of flame and fire? No, he'll be going and arriving into earth in the normal human way. You're not joking, surely. Surely you don't mean, whoop. Yes, that's what he meant. Surely you don't mean, yes, that's correct. Surely you don't mean, yes, that's correct. Ooh. You know, when God made angels, he made us in the natural way. He said, thou art, and we was. But for human beings, he uses two of them to make another. Now, frankly, the whole thing freaks me out. But the end of that process, called birth, is particularly disgusting. And when it's done, the newly made human isn't even finished. He has to learn things like eat and grow and potty train and get hooked on phonics. So I said to him, Mr. Gabriel, sir, so does that mean we've got to go to earth and help out with the earth? Ooh. He said, oh, no. No, but I'm responsible for the gender reveal party. And since it will be quite a shock to the mother-to-be, both that she's having a boy, but also that she's having a baby, period, I need someone there to kind of help out if anything goes wrong. I said, phew, all right, that I can do. So, sir, to what happily married missus do we go? He said, well, she's not actually married. God the Son will not have a human father. I said, I'm no expert on this, Gabriel, sir, but don't human usually begin when, a mother and a father and the whole, special hug thing? He said, yeah. No, not this time. This time, God will do a miracle. And the mother will give birth to a son without a human father. I said, all right. Then, Lord, I didn't know angels had a heartbeat. All right, Lord, to what princess do we go? He said, well, she's not actually a princess. She is, as a matter of fact, a poor, simple girl from the country, married to a contractor. I said, contractor? I thought you wanted this baby to arrive on time. Also, that's kind of a blue-collar business. So, wouldn't it be better for the King of Kings to be born to royalty? To me, Gabriel, sir, this whole thing sounds very unorthodox. It will sound very unorthodox to a whole lot of people. Nevertheless, this is God's plan, so this is the way it has to be. Well, again, can't really disagree with him there. I mean, God is God, and what God decides, that's what is. As he says to Isaiah, his prophet, he says, I will do all that I please. I will bring out what I have promised. Now, we, or you, or me, or Lucifer, or Bruno for that matter, we can scratch our head and puzzle about it and not understand. We can disagree. We can say, I didn't vote for this. We can say, I do not approve of this message. Doesn't really matter, because God always gets his plan. Well, we zoomed on down to Nazareth at that point, to a little apartment there, and we waited, and sooner or later, here comes this young teenage young lady, and she comes in humming, Ave Maria. Gabriel pops into view, Star Trek style, only without the static and no Scotty, and says, greetings. She takes one look at him, turns white as an angel's robe, keels over, and down on the ground. Gabriel looks at me and says, Harold? And I said, oh, sorry, sir, my bad, that's my job. I propped her up, fanned her a bit with my wing, and after a minute or two, she came round again. Gabriel says to her, greetings, this is your lucky day. God has been watching over you. Now, Mary, that was her name. Are you sitting down? Yeah, I guess so. Mary, you are going to become pregnant, and you will bear a son, the Son of God. Name him Jesus, that means God saves, because he will save his people from their sins. And that's about it. Any questions? She stood up and said, yes, I don't think I understand. How can I become pregnant? My wedding's not until June, and Joseph and I have never... Gabriel said, that. No, don't worry about that. This time, God will do a miracle. There will be no human father. Now, I expected Mary to say something like, you're kidding, or no way, or I'm not sure my medical insurance covers this condition. But what she did say was, wow, what an honor. I'll do whatever God wants. Gabriel said, blessed art thou among women. Boom, and off we flew. But not very far, because for the next 9 months, Gabriel and I were on unseen baby stakeout, watching over baby Jesus and his brave mother. The next 9 months were rather uneventful. There were regularly scheduled visits to an incredulous OBGYN. There were runs to the store for ice cream and kosher pickles. And finally came about the due date. By that time, Mary was, as it says in the King James, great with child, or as Joseph used to call her, his round yawn virgin. Everything was going well. And then came another one of those pesky executive orders. The executive, Caesar Augustus, ordered that everyone go back to their hometown and pay this special tax. This special tax for some big government bailout. Some things don't seem to change. And that meant an 80-mile trip for poor Joseph and Mary, and on their Harley, which is what they called their donkey. Now, I suggested that we airlift them all the way to Bethlehem. Or maybe sneak them a Tesla, something like that. But Gabriel said, "No, Harold, this is God's plan. So this is the way it has to be." So off they went, mile after mile. Now, in those days, there were no interstates. There were no fast food restaurants. There were no clean service station restrooms. There still aren't. There was just poor Mary, mile after mile, jolting, swaying, nauseously nibbling on unleavened saltines. There was poor Joseph feeling so bad for Mary, and there was poor Harley feeling so bad under Mary. They were all so relieved when they finally arrived in Bethlehem. Joseph looked up at Mary and patted her on the hand. Mary smiled sweetly at him. Old Harley, he gave a few "ee-haws," and I played a little bit of mood music on my banjo, and it was shaping up to be the best Christmas pageant ever. Until they arrived at the Blessed Nativity Motel and Restaurant, Best Eastern, and saw the sign that said, "No vacancy." Well, Joseph went in and he argued with the innkeeper for a while, but despite the fact that Mary was obviously ready to pop, the innkeeper was unwilling to help. I suggested that we spark him into some good behavior, maybe give him a little angelic white lightning to warm up the cockles of his heart, maybe set him on fire. But Gabriel said, "No, Harold. This is God's plan. This is the way it has to be. But I can do this." And he reached out with his unseen angelic hand, and the innkeeper went, "Oi! I feel a great disturbance in the force." "Oh, what about the stable? The stable is free. How about the stable? I'll throw in some hand towels and those cute little soaps for no extra charge." And that's how Jesus came to be born in a barn. Not a cozy, crafty, artsy, sweet-smelling nativity, but a dank, drafty, dark, dungy barn. Not the greatest venue, I thought, for the Son of God. And then that night came his grand entrance, or grand exit from Mary's point of view, and I was pretty sure she was doing it wrong. I mean, that couldn't be right. I found an awful lot to object to on that first Christmas. But this was God's plan. This is the way it has to be. Over the next 30 years, as we angels watched over Jesus as he walked the earth, over and over again, I heard that phrase, "This is God's plan. This is the way it has to be." Every time I'd want to step in with a little supernatural assist. I mean, what's the point of having friends on high if they can't help you out from time to time? Every time I was shot down. At age 15, when Zephaniah Smith called Jesus a dirty, rotten, illegitimate child, I suggested that we remove Zippy's gizzard. Harold said, "Tempting, but no, Harold. This is God's plan. This is the way it has to be." At age 20, when Gamaliel Smith stiffed Joseph and Sons construction on a huge bill, I suggested that we transform Gamaliel's wife into a widow. But Harold said, Gabriel said, "No, Harold. This is God's plan for Jesus to suffer as a real human being. So this is the way it has to be. At age 25, when the village people all boycotted the construction business just because Jesus had offered a cup of cold water to a Roman soldier, I suggested that we loose a plague of poodles upon the town. Gabriel said, that would be hilarious, but no. This is God's plan for Jesus to suffer from sinful people. So this is the way it has to be. At age 30, when Lucifer himself showed up in the wilderness to tempt Jesus to sin, I suggested to Harold that we devil his hams. But Gabriel said, also tempting, but no. This is God's plan. This is the way it has to be. Jesus must suffer temptation. At age 31, when Jesus walked about preaching the good news and healing people, and no one seemed to get who he was, I suggested we gather around some of our cousins and family and so forth, hover over his head and sing, Hallelujah. Gabriel said, inspiring, but no, Harold. This is God's plan for Jesus to preach the word simply. This is the way it has to be. At age 32, when he finally revealed his secret identity, and those who should have rejoiced and received him as their king instead rejected him, I suggested that we do something, anything, to make sure that they understand that he really was who he said he was. And Gabriel said, oh, I wish, but no, Harold. This is God's plan for Jesus to be rejected by his own people. This is the way it has to be. And at age 33, when Jesus was betrayed by one of his closest friends, when Jesus was railroaded by the religious leaders, when Jesus was condemned by Pontius Pilate, when Jesus was tortured by Roman soldiers, when Jesus was stretched out on an old rugged cross, when spikes were hammered through his wrist, and when nails were pounded through his feet, and when they lifted him up on that cross, and when everyone just stood back and waited for him to die, I said, Gabriel, this is too far. This is the straw that breaks the back. This is the Son of God. Let's call 10,000 angels and smite them all and set him free. And Gabriel said, one last time, with tears in his eyes, no, Harold. This is God's plan for Jesus to suffer, for Jesus to die. This is the way it has to be. So we turned our heads. We covered our eyes. And we heard Jesus say, it is finished. But we did not see when God the Son, Jesus, died. Died because that was God's plan. Died because that was the way it had to be. But 3 days later, something amazing. Jesus rose back from the dead, fully alive, as good as new, as a matter of fact, better than new. And I should have known. I mean, everyone should have known. I mean, God never just does things. God does amazing, astounding, awe-inspiring, awesome, supernatural, surprising, shocking, significant things. And it became clear at that point why this was God's plan. Why this was the way it had to be. Why the Son of God had to become a poor human. Why Jesus had to live among sinful people. Why the Messiah had to go and die like one of you. It was so that he could be pierced for your transgressions. It was so that he could be crushed for your iniquities. It was so the punishment that brought you peace would be upon him. It was so that by his wounds you might be healed. And when he rose again on that third day, he proved beyond a shadow of doubt that he had done all of that. And that sin certainly, most definitely, was finished. That was God's plan. That is God's plan. That is the way it always had to be.